How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Gear Vault. Today in the vault, we've got the CVA Cascade XT. This is going to be a first impressions video of this rifle. Spoiler alert, it's pretty sweet, honestly. So you're going to want to stick around, see what this thing is all about. Let's get right into it. If you're like me, you've probably heard of CVA in the muzzleloader world. That's kind of what I grew up thinking of when I thought of CVA. I thought of muzzleloaders. I had a few CVA Wolf muzzleloaders, just kind of inexpensive, but they worked really well. They obviously brought out the Cascade line of bolt action rifles quite a while ago now at this point, and I've heard really good things about these rifles. Honestly, I have. I have never brought myself to purchasing one because of that reason of when I think of CVA, I think of muzzleloaders. So maybe this rifle will sway that thought and opinion on CVA, and I'll think of them as a all-inclusive, firearm manufacturer. So again, this is the CVA Cascade XT. So a couple of differences from the regular Cascade when you jump to the XT. It is a slight upgrade of a model. So this rifle is chambered in .308 Winchester, and I'm honestly a big fan of that cartridge for just all-purpose hunting, especially when you're talking deer hunting. So we got deer season coming up, in the next, for me anyway, in the next week, and I'm honestly thinking about taking this one out. So I've obviously got to throw a scope on it and get it to the range and see how it shoots and everything. But to me, this is the perfect deer rifle when you think of like just a whitetail rifle, right? Like tree stands, ground blinds, shooting houses or buildings or whatever you use. It's not so heavy that you can't take it on like a backpack style hunt. It's just a bolt action rifle, synthetic stock. It's nothing flashy, but it's what you think of, or at least it's what I think of when I think of a deer hunting rifle. So I'm excited to see how this all works out. So I'm going to take it out of the old gun vise here. Looking at this stock, it doesn't feel plasticky, but it also doesn't feel rubbery, right? So it doesn't feel like a Hogue grip, it's not that kind of texture, but it does have like a soft touch type feel. And I'm not sure, it's been a minute since I've held like one of the Bergara B14s, so I can't say for sure that it's the same texture, but it definitely doesn't feel plasticky, but it's not super tacky like rubber. Recoil pad is pretty stiff. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a great feeling recoil pad, but at the same time, I've also felt a lot of pads in the past that felt like they would be good and then ended up not being great. And I felt ones that, didn't feel like they would be so good and they felt fine. So it's hard to tell until you actually shoot the thing, because that recoil impulse is a lot different than just trying to squish it with your hands. Moving forward, you do have a spacer here, so you can take that out. You can shorten the length of pull, make it more like a compact or a youth style stock. So trigger guard, bottom metal, if you will. It is all plastic, and you do have a detachable magazine. Honestly, the magazine though, it kind of clips in super nice, so you can hear it. It clicks in there. It's kind of tactile. You can hear it. You can feel it. It seems nice and sturdy when it's in there. And honestly, like, one of my biggest pet peeves, me personally, is a gun that has the magazine that sticks down. I don't care if it sticks down a little bit or a lot. Any little bit sticking down definitely, it impedes my ability to carry it where I want to carry it, which is right there. So I love the fact that they have this magazine like that. That's also one of the things I like about some of the Bergaras that have the hinged foreplate. I think that's a great design as well. But for a detachable magazine, I do like that this one is a flush fitting magazine. And chambered in .308, this magazine does have a capacity of 4 rounds. When you're looking at the action on this Cascade, it definitely gives you like Remington 700 vibes as far as like the safety, both the location and the look of it. It's a Remington 700 style action and safety and everything. The one thing that is different though, and the thing that honestly I like this better about the CVA over the Bergara, is the bolt throw. So this bolt is 70 degrees versus the standard 90 degrees. Now, to some people that might not be a huge deal, but me personally, I've had this happen. I've had scopes that weren't giant scopes by any means. The last one I had that did this was a Leupold VX5, 3 to 15, or maybe it was a, I think it was actually a VX6, 3 to 18. But either way, 30 millimeter tube with a throw lever, and when magnification was near the top end, the bolt would actually hit the throw lever to where you couldn't cycle the action, which obviously wasn't good. So I love a shorter bolt throw, whether it be 70 or 60 or 54, like on the Weatherby, some of them. So like, I love it. A little bit is all it takes. You know, even 80 might even be enough, but like just having that short bolt throw, I love it. So I don't know if you can see that there. So obviously all the way down. So you're going from here to about right there. So you got all kinds of clearance there. You can run any size scope, any kind of lever, throw lever you want. You're not gonna hit your bolt, or your bolt's not gonna hit your lever, rather. That's a super good thing. You could also make the argument that it might be a little faster to cycle with that shorter bolt throw. As far as the action itself, it's not as smooth as some Bergaras that I've had, and again, I'm only comparing it to Bergara because it's a company that's owned by the same company, right? It's kind of a sister company, same Remington 700 style action owned by the same company, so that's what I'm comparing it to. I'm not going to compare it to like a Tikka or something like that because it's a different action altogether. That being said, it's a little rougher. I can hear it as it slides and glides, you know. But it's not bad. You know, I'm trying to find imperfections here, right? So like when you just run it, it feels fine. It feels nice and tight. It's not sloppy. I would actually argue that sometimes a Tikka almost is too sloppy feeling, and that's why it feels like it's smooth. You know, it's just because it's loose. But granted, those are fine actions, fine rifles, and I love them. But just different feel. Honestly, it's a different feel altogether. This one, I would say, it feels good. As far as the trigger on this one, I'll have to look at their site in a bit to see if it's an upgraded trigger, like an aftermarket style. But the trigger itself, I would say, feels super nice. It's not a. I'm trying to think of what kind of like comparable trigger. It's not like Trigger Tech or Timney or Jewel quality, obviously. It's not a budget rifle, but it's more budget conscious than a lot out there. And so it clearly doesn't have a $400 trigger in it or anything like that. But it feels good. I would say there's not any creep. It's pretty crisp. And honestly, I think you can lighten these up a bit too. So you can make this trigger pretty darn nice for a factory out-of-the-box trigger on a not insanely expensive rifle. This rifle does also come with the Picatinny rail. I believe this one is just a 0 degree, you know, it's not a 20-degree rail or anything. It's a flat Picatinny rail, but you do get that on there for no additional cost. Moving forward, you do have 2 sling swivel studs. So if you want to run a bipod and a sling, and you know, separately, you have that option. The barrel does not even come close to making contact to the stock. I know on some, I'm just going to use the word like budget, on some budget rifles that stock, whenever you look down at like the barrel is, you know, everything is running and then it finally just touches each other and you have a barrel touching on this side and a 1/4 inch gap on the other. This particular example, at least, perfect. It's riding straight down that stock line and a good amount of clearance all the way around it. This barrel is fluted and it is Cerakoted. And you also actually get a muzzle brake with the Cascade XT. I have to double check. I almost think you might get a threaded barrel on all of them, but for sure, Cascade XT comes threaded, does come with a radial muzzle brake. So, you know, nice for the guys that want to run a suppressor, brake. If you don't like it, take it off there. Doesn't really matter. And in the 308 cartridge, this is a 22-inch barrel and the barrel is threaded 5/8 by 24. CVA does list that this rifle comes with their medium contour Bergara fluted barrel. And so I think this barrel is actually just a hair heavier than the standard Cascade. That's one of the differences. It is Cerakote and it is a Bergara barrel. So, budget minded rifle with a premium barrel. And honestly, I think that most people would agree that the barrel is the single biggest driving factor in your accuracy. Speaking of accuracy, it does come with an accuracy guarantee. You are going to get a 3-shot, 1 MOA guarantee. 3 shots, 100 yards, inch or better. You're going to have that guarantee with this rifle. The other thing that CVA does, and I don't think anyone else does this, but they have a satisfaction guarantee. Basically, what that means is you've got 14 days from your purchase date to decide if you like it. 14 days, if you don't like this rifle for any reason, send it back and they'll refund you your money. I'm sure there's some hoops to jump through with that, but that's what they advertise. If you don't like it, you got 14 days to decide and send her back and you'll get a refund. That's pretty cool. That's a step above that accuracy guarantee that honestly every company nowadays uses that as a marketing tool. Every company guarantees this and that. And I mean, I've seen so many rifles that guarantee the 3-shot, 1-inch group that shoot terribly. But 1 out of every 20 groups will do an inch, and you can't really say anything about it, So that's just a tool nowadays. It seems like a marketing tactic. I hope this one shoots well, but the satisfaction guarantee. Granted, it's only 14 days, but hey, that's 14 more days than any other manufacturer that I can think of is allowing for you to decide whether or not you like this thing. One thing I did forget to mention is the twist rate in this rifle is 1 in 10. So that's nice. You're going to be able to run some of the heavier bullets, heavier for caliber 308 bullets versus some of the rifles chambered in like 1 in 11 or twisted 1 in 11 rather. So that's nice. As far as weight, website lists it at 7.3 pounds. On my scales at home, I'm getting 7.55. That's not to say that my scales are perfect. I'm just telling you that is what I have weighed this thing in at, is 7.55 pounds. But it honestly, it carries well. And that's the biggest thing is like some of my like Ruger Americans or whatever, they're probably lighter, like especially in the ranch models. But if you got that big AR mag hanging down from it, it makes it super awkward. So like I would rather carry 7.5 pounds at a point where it's balanced versus 6 pounds trying to hold it out here. So balance is key, and this one will balance well. You do have a good spot to hold on to it. It's not overly thick in that action. It feels like it's going to be a good rifle to carry as far as like not going to wear you out to carry the thing. Granted, it's just 7.5 pounds or 8 or 6 or whatever. It's not a ton of weight we're talking when you're talking bolt action rifles, but it does absolutely make a difference. A gun that is awkward to carry feels like 20 pounds after a few hours of packing it. So I love the fact that it has a nice spot to hold on to with a nice flush fitting magazine. I love the way the stock feels. It doesn't feel cheap at all. It feels nice. It doesn't feel, it's obviously a polymer, but it feels different. It just feels nice. So the black webbing is 3-dimensional. It's not just paint. It's raises up. You can feel it. The raised checkering here is a nice touch. It feels good in your hand. When you pick this up, you don't go right to like thinking budget or inexpensive. I don't think that at all. When I pick this rifle up, it feels every bit as nice and well made as a lot of rifles out there. It feels like a B14 or a Tikka or a rifle along those lines, as it should. Price wise, it's falling right in that level of rifle. It's probably a little bit under what most Tikkas are selling at now, and I haven't even checked the price of a B14 for a while. But basically, what you're looking at is like $750 to $950, I think, depending on the cartridge. Looking at their website, they show $749 to $925. So depending on what you chamber it in and depending on your stock selection, I'm assuming you're going to be in that range. And I think for what you're getting in that range, that's super good. I mean, I talk a lot about like the Ruger American Gen 2 coming in at like 600 bucks. And that is a good value. You are getting some good things at that price. This is just a personal preference. That magazine that sticks down just really irritates me. I just don't like it. So that alone is enough reason for me to want to try something else. I have no issues at all paying an extra $100 or so to get a rifle that actually balances well. And if a Ruger American feels good in your hands, by all means buy a Ruger American. But to me, so far what I'm seeing on this rifle, I like it. And I would say that there are a few things that make this rifle punch outside of that Ruger American class of rifle, if you will, to basically get it up that next couple $100. And one is the fact that you got that flush fitting magazine, but two, the action does feel quite a bit better. You do have a more quality feeling action, and the trigger on this rifle feels probably 5 times better than a Ruger American trigger. Trigger feels really nice. So all that being said, overall first impressions of the CVA Cascade XT are all positive. I can't really knock it for anything. If I was gonna knock it for something, it would be weight, but that's just personal preference. If you want a lighter gun, buy a lighter gun. I think what they're going after with this rifle would be like your typical whitetail hunter, right? Blinds, tree stands, stuff like that. You're gonna hike probably an hour tops, and then it's gonna be in your lap, propped up, something like that for the remainder of your hunt. For that, I think this is probably gonna be a super solid choice. For the guy that's gonna go out and pack this thing around all day in the mountains, maybe not the choice that you're gonna make, but I don't think that's what they're going for. Could you do it? Absolutely. I mean, it's really not that bad, and like I said, it balances pretty well. But I think that assuming that they're going after a whitetail hunter with this rifle, I think they kind of nailed it. So the next step with this rifle is going to be mounting a scope on it. I think what I'm gonna do is pull the VX3 4.5 to 14 off of my 22 ARC because my daughter killed her first deer with it. Spoiler alert again. So I'm not gonna need that rifle for a bit. So I'm just gonna pull that VX3 off of there, pop it onto this one, and then let's see how she looks. All right, so there you have it. I've got this Leupold VX3 HD 4.5 to 14 by 40 mounted to the CVA Cascade XT. Looking at like clearance and stuff. So this rail actually extends, decently far out there. And so for me to have this scope kind of back where I need it to be, as far as eye relief, the bell is getting kind of close to touching that tip of that rail. So if you have a scope that is maybe a little bit shorter as far as body length with a large objective, that could potentially be an issue. I'm not sure. But either way, she mounted up really nice. I think it looks really good on there, and I am excited to take this thing to the range to see what it can do. There you have it, guys. That is my first impressions video of the CVA Cascade XT. I will be taking this rifle to the range this week, and I will do my best to get that filmed for you because we want to see how this accuracy is going to be out of this budget rifle. I expect it to be decent. The nice thing is it's chambered in 308, so I've got about 12 different boxes of ammo that I can try in it. So hopefully we can find something that it shoots well, and hopefully we can put a big whitetail buck down this weekend with this rifle. So stay tuned to the channel. Make sure that you're subscribed so you see when the video drops of actually shooting this thing. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the CVA Cascades. Is CVA a bolt action rifle company, or are they a muzzleloader company? I guess we'll find out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Appreciate everything. Let me know in the comment section what videos you want to see in the future. Till next time, y'all be safe.